thank you so much for giving us time for this interview. So, firstly, yours is one of the most well-known deep tech startups in Bangalore, and coming out of IISc, that's indeed a pride for us. So, would you like to tell us a little bit about your journey, both as a technologist and then through to how you started this company?
Sure. Just to sort of introduce, I'm Geetha, CEO and CTO of Niramai Health Analytics. And at Niramai, we are developing a new way of doing breast cancer detection, right? Using artificial intelligence, machine learning, and stuff. Before I started Niramai, I was actually a lab director at a multinational corporate research lab. And working on several interesting applications of AI in real life. That's when a couple of my close relatives, actually two of my cousin sisters, got detected with breast cancer. And they were like in early 40s and late 30s. So that's when it hit me, like, how badly this disease can affect the family, small kids and so on. And within 2 years I don't have both of them with us now, right? It's really very unfortunate that they lost their life at such early age. And when we started researching on this particular issue, came to know that it is in fact possible to save people from breast cancer as long as it is detected early. So we started a research, small research team, like 2 or 3 of us started researching on how can we sort of use our imaging analysis methodologies to try and see if we can do an early detection. And that was the start of the thought process. And after a few months of analysis, I thought there is quite some promise in use of the technology, which I'm going to describe later, and quit my job and started Niramai.
So did you start thinking about the startup when you were at IISc, or did it all happen after that?
No, IISc is a wonderful place to just nurture your mind to think innovatively, I would say, right? Everything about IISc is about research in some sense, and thinking out of the box, thinking differently from what exists out there. There's start deriving a lot of fun from doing things in ways which are very different from how it's done traditionally. So that whole mindset is something that I learned in IISc. I did my master's as well as PhD from the computer science department of IISc. Wow. Different sort of spaced, because I worked after masters and went back and did my PhD. So that is exactly where IISc helped me. It has helped me throughout my career to just not do what others have done before. So that's definitely where it is.
It's been many years since you started up. Just wanted to understand how this journey has been, and what kind of achievements Niramai has had over the last few years.
In the startup journey itself, it's not like many years. We are 2.5 years on ground. But yes, the ecosystem has been very kind, and we've got excellent support from the investors, the accelerator programs, the companies which allow to do innovative work and all of that. So we did get quite a bit of media attention for such a young startup, I would say. Having said that, what we've been able to achieve is to develop a non-invasive, privacy-aware, early detection solution for breast cancer, right? Or breast abnormalities. It doesn't have to be cancer, right? Something that may, morph itself to something as critical as breast cancer in future can also be, and that's early detection, right? So what we have developed is a completely no touch, no see, no pain. If I can pull this up and then show you the brochure, say no touch, no see, no pain, no radiation. Essentially, this is so critical because breast cancer, early detection is very important because early detection enables reduced treatment costs, much better efficacy of the treatment itself, and the person can have a very high quality of life even after surgery or treatment is done, and large chances of survival, right? Early detection is very critical to improve the survival rates. That's one piece. Having said that, women hesitate to come in front of hospital, come to a hospital, come in front of doctors in order to take this test, right? So we wanted to make it really privacy aware, where nobody's seeing, nobody's touching the person and so on. So that we made it. So what we do is use a simple thermal imaging device right in front of the person, and we just measure the temperature variations on the chest, and we use artificial intelligence, essentially deep learning and such, to analyze these thermal images, to annotate and say where are likely abnormalities. In addition, we also give a score depicting what's the health of the person and likelihood of malignancy, right? So this whole thing completely automated, and the report comes in within 15 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, and the end user experience is really wow, I should say, because it's like a booth. The lady enters and comes home after 15 minutes, and her report will be ready. Nobody would have touched or seen her, and it's like a pure privacy aware experience that we have. So far, we've done over 12,000 women,
12,000?
Screening of 12,000 women, and of course, we have detected many abnormal cases and helped them get onto their next level of analysis and tests. And we have had quite a few people come in and say thank you, saved my life. So that's pretty heartening. It's pretty heartening to see technology doing the job, right? Because right behind all this is machine learning algorithms. The core is the computer-aided diagnostic engine we have built. Let me speak a little bit more about that.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So thermal imaging basically measures the temperature variations on the chest. Okay, and if there is an abnormality, there is higher metabolism at that region. Right, there is more cell division and so on. So there's more blood flow to that region. So the higher metabolism itself results in an increase in temperature at the lesion, right? Okay. And because of the increased blood flow, not just at the lesion and surrounding the lesion, also there is a different thermal pattern. So when you take a thermal image, we actually see a very, it's actually a heat map with specific temperatures at different tissue pieces that you will see. And usually breast cancer comes in one breast rather than the other, so there is a lot of asymmetry between the left and the right side you generally see. Now, abnormal thermal pattern definitely is indicative of some abnormality, but there are so many normal conditions where you will see asymmetry. Right. So how do you differentiate whether a hot spot or an increase in temperature is because of cancer or some other spurious condition? Exactly. That's where we use machine learning, and sort of we've developed these algorithms, which are very effectively, more than 90% sensitivity and specificity, in order to be able to detect.
So ma'am, when you started off, of course, it was a very personal story, and when you thought of the idea, did you also think immediately of the solution? As in, were you aware of what sort of machine learning algorithms might work here, or was it a trial and error, or how did you develop the solution?
Oh yeah. Sure. You never know what the solution is going to look like, right? When you start, absolutely. In fact, I was chatting with one of my imaging experts, colleagues from the US, actually Dr. L.K. Masta. And he's an imaging expert, and he was sort of looking at different multispectral images for respiratory rate detection, heart rate detection. So I was like just chatting with him. And that's when I was talking about my story, and that's when I said, yeah, thermal imaging has been used for breast cancer. So the use of thermal imaging is not new, right? So that is where we started off. And because we had a multispectral camera, we said, okay, why don't we take a couple of women, who already had cancer, right? Take some of the images of them and see what we can. I still remember that hotel in Udupi, Manipal Hospital, where we both were staring at two cancer patient images and saying, what can we do with this, right? We've actually figured out there's some abnormality, what can we do with it? And as a machine learning kind of person, thanks to IAC, we said, we'll be able to localize it. We can figure out where is, the potential cancer. So we initially started off it as a localization solutions, right? Any person who has cancer comes to this and then say, okay, can we mark it automatically? It's really, we don't know what is the exact value. The surgeons essentially oncosurgeons basically said, yeah, it'll help me do a better surgery. Right? So we started doing that. And we validated with about 100 patients, close to 100 patients, I think. It was just a simple, recursive localization kind of an imaging technique that we used. But later I said, okay, if it is so non-invasive, because this has no radiation, right? Just measure the temperature. And it is so simple, nobody is touching the person and so on and all those things. And early detection, we talked about it. So if it is like this, why do we have to use it on cancer patients alone, right? Can we use it on people who don't know whether they have any problem, right? So then started looking at potential collaboration, trying to use this on a normal patient, or at least people who look normal like us, right? That's when we said, okay, let's do machine learning. So we started off getting like 70% accuracy. And obviously, if I have to go through a test which says I have 70% accurate test to say whether you have cancer or not, we wouldn't take it. So we then started the journey of how do we make from 70 to 90 or whatever, right? So that's statistically significant, and also you were able to at least probabilistically, right, reasonably confidently say whether the result is either both for sensitivity is positive or negative. This has resulted in 9 granted US patents already, because the innovation that was needed was like not straightforward.
It's sort of a chicken and egg problem in machine learning, that initially when you don't have much data, your accuracy is not that high, and to get higher data you need to show a good accuracy, which is when people will come to you. So how did you cross that barrier for a machine learning startup?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. In fact, they say necessity is the mother of invention, right? So we started off with actually 78 patients data, and we said we're going to build a model. Like, how the hell? In fact, we had only cancer patients, right? Said, okay, can we get somebody who's normal to come in front? So we made the nurse stand in front of it, and then said, okay. So it was that, from the beginning we had to do the data collection. So, so what we also evolved is to figure out how do we actually build a training set differently, given that you have very, small data set to play with. So that's a place where we sort of innovated, try different things. Obviously, if you have lots of data, you just sort of dump everything to deep learning, and then out comes a beautiful model. But that's not that you cannot do it with 500 images, right? So that's where we were. So we found a different way of training, which is scientifically, may not be like great, but medically it's very great, because what we did was we did like a semantic sampling kind of methodology, where we figure out the full details of what was the reason why she got cancer, or like what is the subcategory of the cancer, and pick people from different subcategories and put them in. So it's like really manually, semantically sampled training set that we put in. And once you have that, we at least know we have a coverage on the different abnormalities. So obviously we need to sort of pick different closely resembling subjects and so on. So but we did all that, and then because of that we were able to train with less than 500 samples. And then once we did that, obviously initially we just did a leave and out and validate, but then when we actually went on the ground and started testing it out on 300 plus people, that's when we realized we actually have built a really good model, with that, because even when we were doing it, we were not sure whether that's the method we should be using. But I guess it's because you just think like very scientifically, take the whole data set, 80-20 rule, use it 80 for training, but that doesn't work, because when you're on live, you are not looking at, you don't know the answer of the new patients who are coming in. You really have to predict, That's a different ball game altogether, and this method seems to be working really well on that.
Yeah. Do you feel now that you've built a company and you have so much of data, that's to your advantage, and now you can take this to the entire world basically, because it's not localized to India, the solution?
Right, definitely. This the method we use also is not localized to India. We don't use the color of the skin or anything. It's all very relative within the body and things like that. So that is there. But now that I've built a company, as you call it, right, I also know what are the legal implications of sharing data, right? As a researcher, you say like, I want data. Why are they not giving me the data? No, sorry. It's very, very, like we need to handle data very carefully, because it is somebody else's personal information. Obviously, we remove all the, like we make it anonymized. We remove all the privacy related information. Having said that, there are several legal implications on data privacy and security that we need to follow. So we will not be able to just distribute data for people to do research and so on and so forth. We have to have our own constraints as to how we share the data, whom we share with, and so on. Those things are there, but yes, it is definitely applicable to not just India, outside as well.
Do you think it was this company was meant to be from India, so to speak? Because we have many more people, we have slightly more relaxed laws.
So I don't know about meant to be from India for India, but definitely India is suffering because there is no good screening test. Not just India, countries like India, developing world, because the standard method of screening for breast cancer today is called mammography, which is X-ray mammography, which works on women above 45 years of age. India is a youth-heavy population, right? So, in fact, the mean age for breast cancer is 52, which is like 50% of the women are under 50 in some sense. So this test will not work. So it doesn't fit in that. And a lot more women have dense breasts in like Asian countries and so on. So that also is a limitation for breast cancer. Most importantly, the affordability, accessibility angle, right? Today, if you go to a tier 2 city, you will hardly find a mammogram. Forget about villages and so on and so forth. So accessibility is an issue, and also the cost. Right? It's about 3,500 rupees, and we are talking about women going in, getting the screening done when they're well, not when they have a huge lump or whatever. So it's very hard to, even I wouldn't spend that much time every year, that much money every year, right? So that's the sort of the mentality we have in terms of preventive care. So with all these constraints, India really needs a new breast cancer screening, another breast cancer screening tool, and probably Niramai solution that we have built could be one of them, I would say.
Can this solution be extended to other cancers as well, or is it that because breast has a symmetry, inbuilt symmetry where you can spot an asymmetry, will it be only for breast?
Yeah, asymmetry is there everywhere actually in our body.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, it can be extended to several other type of cancers.
Okay.
We are still researching on it. We don't have any trial results or something to claim that, but definitely there are early proof points for for that.
Okay.
So it's really, we call this technology as thermal analytics, where it's not just about thermography, which has been around for some time. It was around for some time, but it had a huge accuracy issue. By adding artificial intelligence, machine learning, we are trying to make this solution really usable. So in that sense, once we have this technique, which is just sort of detecting abnormalities based on thermal signatures, it's like X-rays. Earlier it was being used only for fractures and so on. Now we are seeing in like mammography, CT, all of that, right? So how do we kind of use this solution for several other type of diseases? And that's sort of in the roadmap, long roadmap, I would say.
So the accuracy that you spoke about can be broken down into two, which is the type 1 and type 2 errors. And just because we are talking about something as serious as cancer, whether these have a significant impact on the women concerned.
Sure, these are called false negatives and false positives in another way, right? You're calling somebody is falsely positive, calling somebody is falsely negative, right? So more and more we discuss with the doctors, what they say is, because we are saying that this is a screening device where, because it's non-invasive, easy to use and so on, every lady, whether well, sick, symptoms, with lumps, no lump, no pain, all of them can go through this test. When we are saying that, right, there people and experts are saying it should have high sensitivity. That is, we should be able to detect women who have cancer, all women who have cancer if possible, right? Just basically zero false negatives.
Right.
So that is how our solution is tuned towards, for high sensitivity. Having said that, specificity, that is, you can actually, like if you have 100 women, you can call everybody as cancerous, and obviously you will have 100% sensitivity, but 99 people are unnecessarily called as false positives, right? Unnecessarily there. So that also has to be optimized, right? And so we obviously, like all other machine learning algorithms, we have an ROC, we try and like operating point. If specificity is important, we operate at a place where specificity is high, and it's configurable algorithm, right? Where you can say what is that you want to optimize for, depending upon the use case. If it is, let's say, in a cancer care institution where it is used alongside a mammography ultrasound to detect people who are not detected by mammography, there are quite a few people like that, then we make it more specific in nature. So that's one. But when we try to do a preventive screening methodology, we make it more sensitive, so we don't miss any person who needs a follow-up, right? So that is how we fine-tune.
When you correlate with other devices or other methods as well, then you use a certain setting, or when you have to do it in a preventive setting, you can change.
So during training itself, you can figure out which one to fine-tune to. We have multiple models which can be used for the different use cases. Yeah.
So can you add on to that as to how that translates into a score that you spoke about? Definitely there'll be certain percentages of accuracy.
Yeah, so we do have multiple scores which we generate from the analysis that we do on the thermal images. The meaning, the semantics of the scores changes based on the usage criteria. And the second thing is, when we are using this in a rural setting, we actually also give a provisional triaging report, a red, yellow, green. When we are doing that, also we kind of bias it towards sensitivity. So those are some of the reporting will take care of it actually. But in hospitals, it will be reviewed by doctors alongside the physical examination. So they do the right call. Finally, they are the ones who write the conclusion. So they use the scores, but write the final conclusion.
Can I understand how, just taking a step back, how the ecosystem has been for a medical imaging company and especially a startup to work in Bangalore, in India? How has the ecosystem been?
We have been lucky, I think, to have found, first of all, very friendly, very good, very committed investors, be it in seed round itself, Pi Ventures, Ankur Capital, Axelar, Billy also is one of them, 500 startups. So they actually, we meet once a month and they ask such hard questions, right? You go back once and like, I have to do some more homework. I thought I've been working on this, right? So really involved in the thing. So that's very important. It's not just like, hey, here's the money, you go do, have fun. It's not at all like that. But yes, it helps to have an investor who kind of aligns with your vision of hopefully changing the world, and as well as be supportive and also critical as needed for that. So that, I think, the investment, and in the second round we do have Japanese investors and so on, who are very conscious about quality and so on. So we just sort of run faster and more correct, more perfect, right? Which is really helpful for us to make ourselves better than before, right? That we are our own competitors in some sense. So that's one part of it. The ecosystem also has been very kind, I would say. We have accelerator programs, let's say, for example, Google Launchpad Accelerator, Philips HealthWorks, Axelar also had an accelerator, and BIRAC, which is bioinformatics research in India, they also have. So all of these people actually selected us and then gave us a lot of good mentoring, because I personally haven't worked a lot in healthcare before. Of course, this was one of the problems, and we have worked with other, like in other machine learning in healthcare kind of solutions, but not really. I'm not like a doctor, medical doctor. And also, I don't know how regulatory things work and so on, right? So all of these knowledge and mentorship we got from the accelerators that we work with, and also we won many awards. That has been very incentivizing, especially for the team. Like, we have a young bubbling team, and we say, yeah, here is the Accenture award, here's the Amazon award, and Google Cloud, they call it Cloud Hero and so on, right? It's like really very, very motivating. And that way it's been extremely helpful. And also Karnataka startup program, we've got some grants and so on, right? So this is the latest one is we won a Bill Melinda Gates Foundation grant, which basically enables us to try this solution out, like you were asking, right, to other type of diseases and so on. So river blindness is what we are doing there. So yeah, ecosystem really has been very helpful to us. Also media, for example, right? They've been very kind.
Speaking about changing the world, your startup is definitely changing the world in more than one sense. But how was the feeling when you were selected as one of the top AI companies across the world. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Actually, there are these many competitions we apply and sort of, we won it and all that. Like, for example, when the Japanese, we won a gold prize and so on. But suddenly one day I got an email saying, that was a heading. I said, like, what? This was from CB Insights, which said that we did a survey. There's no application, nothing. They did a survey around the world, and they decided what are the 100 startups working in AI or using AI to change the world, right? So essentially, top 100 AI startups in the world, and they said, like, you are there. And it's like, oh, wow, very good. And said, don't talk about this till February 6th. I said, okay, fine. So we just... But I think after February 6th, and one of them tweeted, it's so good to see an Indian company on this list finally. I said, like, wow, it's the only Indian company which has made it. Oh my God, it's like, that's when the pride of representing India on the world map is like, that's still very green in my thoughts. So when you see the world map and India is blue and this says Niramai, it's like amazing feeling. Niramai solution should be used by every woman on earth. Every lady on earth is what I keep saying. Everybody knows this, right? So then they know that the solution should be really universal. Like, it should work on only you, me, and like, no, it has to be universal. So that's sort of the base, right? So it's very hard, when you actually go on the ground, like you install it in a hospital, you really have to make sure that like people are coming in and taking the test, right? And because there's a preventative mindset, right, which is lacking in women today. So, and also women deprioritize their health compared to their family members. So all of these mindset changes we still have to drive. And in fact, if there are corporates or and volunteers who are seeing this, right, I really request their help to sort of spread the word, right? Breast cancer is killing up many thousands of women, right? 100,000 women, last year got, were suffering because of this. And 86 of them actually died, right? 50% survival rate, in fact, right? So all this because of late detection. So I think spreading awareness is very, very important. So once that is done, obviously we want to try and see if we can go to Asia, Europe, US and other places as well, wherever we have women accepting this and regulatory clearances is what we do.
When you speak about your startup, the passion is so apparent that it comes out very clearly. So I guess several women will also be watching this video. Would you like to say anything to women who are thinking of starting up but are not aware of how to go about it or how to face the challenges?
Sure. For women entrepreneurs or women who want to be entrepreneurs, I would say that there's a lot of fun in doing something that you really wish to do from your heart. It's of course challenging, you need to balance multiple worlds, home, office, kids, and all of those things. Yes, and you also have to overcome the barrier of like perceptive confidence, if you will, and so on. But definitely it's a lot of fun. It's extremely fulfilling to do something that you believe so much in, right? Instead of saying, okay, I wish that XYZ person will do it, you do it, right? I would always say, follow your passion, follow your heart. Women can, do it, right? Really, because we are good in multitasking, supposedly. And I would say whether women or, male entrepreneurs that want to pursue, follow the passion, go for it. It's very, very learning, enriching experience, to say the least.
Coming from you, that those words mean a lot, because it's not just a startup that you've created. You have created one of the most high-tech startups, deep tech startups in India. So that's great to hear. Taking a step back, can you tell us a little bit about how you transitioned from your MTech and a little bit about your career in the industry and then back to a PhD? How did you decide to go back there?
Yeah, that's a long story. Yes, I did my BTech and immediately joined Masters. In my BTech, I did actually my project from IISc also. So I was very, very impressed by the professors, the knowledge, and the kind of interaction I had, the kind of fulfillment of research and all. So I decided if I have to do Masters, it has to be in IISc. So thankfully, I did well in GATE and I got into IISc. And that was my master's. And after that, I joined CDAC, which was again my dream job, because that was the only research group in India, and I'm like a patriotic in mind, so we like Mere Bharat Mahan. So, so I wanted to join an Indian company which does research, and CDAC was very good. We built, I would say, first supercomputer in from India. Then after about 6 years, I joined Hewlett Packard as the first member of their research group in India. While I was at HP is when I kind of decided, and thanks to sort of professors in IISc also, they encouraged me to come back and do my PhD. So I went back to IISc, did my PhD as an external assistant. Obviously, I had to take off quite a few months to sort of do the coursework again. I just want to learn new things, so I did that in data mining space, AI and data mining. Dr. M&M sir was my supervisor, research supervisor, and yeah, I mean, it was very hard to do both work and research, especially in IISc. But yeah, I think it has been very learning experience, and I'm glad I made it, finally. And then yes, and after that I joined Xerox Research as a research manager, and then Niramai. So it's overall it is I've always enjoyed doing something different from what has been done before. Thanks to IISc for that mindset, and I've been in research and innovation career all the time. And Niramai is also a deep tech and innovation driven company. And here there is not just innovation in tech. We also have to innovate in business model. How do you kind of disrupt this whole thing by thinking newly on all fronts? I think that's also, again, enriching experience and a very, very exciting journey so far. Thank you for this wonderful conversation, and yeah, I look forward to the talk in IISc next